One responsibility of being a coach is to know the legal obligations for specific things for coaching a certain sport and for being a coach in general. The first thing is to know the duty of care, which is a moral or legal obligation to ensure the safety and well-being of others at a reasonable standard when performing acts that could harm others. For example, if a rugby player were to break their arm or a leg, then the coach should know the basic first aid skills and should know who to call straight away for help. Child protection can also link to duty of care, but there are many laws that protect the safety of children, and there are organisations like CSP who help minimise abuse to children in sport. Child protection could also be things like if a coach sees frequent bruises on a child's body, then they should report it for their safety. There have been lots of cases where some children have been sexually assaulted by coaches, which is why there are rules on how you should behave around kids to make sure they aren't able to get abused in any way. When there are volunteering coaches, then it is necessary that they should know about the legal obligations in case they are unaware and make a minor or major mistake that could potentially get them into a lot of trouble, so it is vital that they have some knowledge on laws. However, volunteer coaches shouldn't be held responsible for something if one of the qualified coaches shouldn't have let them do it in the first place, if it needed to be done by someone with training like supporting a gymnast in a somersault. Some sports require qualifications in order to be a coach, like swimming and trampolining. This makes it compulsory for coaches to have these qualifications if they are needed, or it could mean that they could get into a large amount of trouble, as it means that their athletes are not completely safe, and if one of them got hurt because the coach didn't know what to do, then it could become extremely serious and the athlete could sue the coach. For example, if a trampoline coach allowed an athlete to try something dangerous without the right safety equipment like a crash mat and the athlete got injured, then the coach would have to explain what happened. They would be held liable for it. One of the things that coaches are not allowed to do is transport players to games or trainings in their vehicle, as it is illegal, because if, for example, the coach crashed their car with the players inside, then it would be very bad for them if a player was injured, as they are responsible for the player's safety and well-being. Therefore, it is better for coaches to tell the athletes to make it to games and trainings by themselves so they aren't liable for any problems that could happen. The next responsibility is health and safety, which is very important as the coach always needs to make sure that their athletes are not in harm's way. Firstly, good communication is important in health and safety because it means that you can make sure all athletes understand what they are doing so no one gets hurt. For example, if an athletics group are doing javelin, then it is vital that the athletes listen to when to throw and when to collect it, as it could easily lead to someone getting hurt, so the coach needs to be loud and clear while speaking. The coach will also need knowledge of the sport and also knowledge in knowing how to react if something serious happens. The coach will need knowledge of the sport as it means they will know how to make sure everyone is using the correct technique and so that they know how the performance should. For example, teaching a cricket team the correct technique on how to catch a hard ball so the players know how to cushion the ball without injuring their hands. Knowing how to react if something happens is extremely important as it means you can help the athletes that need it quickly, like if an athlete needs first aid or an ambulance, or it could also help stop someone getting hurt before something happens, such as if some athletes get into an argument that is starting to get physical, then the coach should be responsible for preventing it by talking to the player or even substituting them if they are being too dangerous. Planned sessions is very good for health and safety as it means coaches are more organised so players always have something to do rather than doing their own thing whilst the coach decides what to do. Coaches must make sure that they have all the right equipment that they need, check to see if they need more coaches to help if there's too many athletes, and they will also need to take age and ability into account whilst planning to make sure that the training isn't too hard or dangerous for the group of athletes. For example, if a coach used weights in the training drill in gymnastics for under 10s, then it would not be safe for them as it can cause damage to their bodies as they are still developing. Coaches will also need to do risk assessments for the training sessions to make sure that everything is set out safely for the athletes, and the coach should make sure that warm-ups and cool-downs are put into training to reduce the risk of injuries such as a pulled muscle. Another responsibility of a coach is to make sure that everyone has equal opportunities to play the sport and whilst participating. Adaptations are very important as it means more people can do sports as there is easier access for them because things have been changed for a specific group of people. An example of this could be started in wheelchair basketball teams so that the disabled can have a sporting activity to take part in, which can be very difficult for them as there aren't many places that have the facilities to suit the disabled, such as no ramps for them to enter. Another thing could be that the coach could lower the payments required for people who have less money and can't afford to join a club because of kits and equipment expenses. This means that the coach is trying to give people an equal opportunity to participate. Gender stereotyping is a very large topic in sport, as there are a lot of stereotypes, such as people saying that football is a male sport. A coach has a responsibility to make sure that they do not stereotype certain people, as it can be very offensive even if they didn't mean to hurt anyone's feelings. For example, a coach shouldn't say things like "you throw like a girl", as it is quite sexist and people may take it badly, which could get the coach in trouble if someone reported them, especially at a high level where the press can find out and spread negative things. Also, a coach must make sure that there are equal gender opportunities for sports when males and females both participate together, such as athletics. The coach could do this by making sure there is equal funds for both genders so everyone is provided with the same equipment, as in some sports like rugby, more money is put into men's rather than women's. Discrimination is quite frequent in some sports, whether it's verbal or physical, and a coach has a responsibility to make sure that no one is or feels discriminated. For example, if some athletes in a basketball club are being homophobic or racist to one of the players on the team, the coach needs to stop it straight away and even punish the players, like by giving them a game ban or whatever is necessary. Professional conduct is the ethics, morals, and standards of behaviour. A coach will need to show professional conduct in many ways. For example, to show athletes how to be honest and play fairly, as it shows that the players show good sportsmanship and etiquette in games and competition, which is watched closely by sponsors and press at a higher level. If a coach is able to do this, then it will mean that they are able to show good professional conduct, and it will mean the players will get into less trouble, meaning less game suspensions. Volunteers have a responsibility to show professional conduct to some extent, even if they aren't professional coaches, as they should be a good role model to the athletes and not encourage bad behaviours such as gamesmanship. However, volunteering coaches might not try as much to do these things as they aren't getting paid, which could mean they might not put as much effort in to show good professional conduct, which could be a problem if the players start to argue more to the officials. Punctuality is key for a coach, and they are responsible for making sure they are always on time to training and fixtures. For example, if a cricket coach was late to training and then had to spend time setting up the drills, then it would waste time for the athletes and mean they aren't getting as much practice, which could affect the team's performance as a whole. This shows that the coach is unorganised and means they are not following their responsibilities. Appearance is also a factor for professional conduct, because if coaches do not wear the correct clothing to training, it can have a bad image and can portray them as being quite lazy if they do not make the effort to do things like wear trainers if the athletes are training on grass. All coaches have the responsibility to respect all players of all abilities. This shows good ethics and morals, which is key for professional conduct. For example, if a coach were to focus more on the athletes who are better than the others, then it would be unfair on the rest of the team, as they are being neglected and will not be able to improve, which could mean they might give up on the sport. This is why a coach needs to show respect and make all athletes feel like they are part of the team.